The night was quiet, but my heart was anything but. I had always told myself that I understood love, that I had felt it before in fragments and fleeting moments. But that evening, sitting across from her in the dim glow of my apartment, I realized how wrong I had been. Love wasn't loud, nor was it always grand. Sometimes it lived in the smallest gestures, the way her laughter curled at the edges, the way her eyes lingered on me like they knew something I hadn't admitted to myself. Her name was Maya, and she had been in my life for months now, first as a friend, then as someone I found myself waiting for without meaning to. She had this rare ability to turn an ordinary space into something electric simply by being in it. That night was no different. She sat curled up on the couch, her hair falling loosely over her shoulders, the softness of her skin catching the golden light of the lamp. I tried not to stare, but my body betrayed me. We were talking about nothing in particular. Books we had read, places we wanted to visit, little daydreams we rarely said aloud to others. But beneath the words, I felt something else, an invisible thread pulling me closer to her. Every laugh we shared, every glance we exchanged, only wound that thread tighter. I could feel it tightening around my chest until it was almost hard to breathe. At one point, she shifted closer. Just a small move, but it felt like the world had tilted. Our knees brushed against each other, a fleeting contact that sent a quiet shiver through me. I told myself it meant nothing, but my heart didn't believe it. Her hand rested casually on the couch between us, and without thinking, I let mine drift closer, not touching, just hovering, like the air between us was charged with something too powerful to name. Then she looked at me. Really looked at me. Her eyes held mine, and suddenly the air grew heavier, warmer, more intimate than I had ever imagined. The room around us seemed to fade. It was just her and me, two hearts beating a little too fast in the silence. I don't know why, she whispered softly, almost as if she was afraid to break the spell, but being here with you feels different. Like I can breathe in a way I can't with anyone else. The confession sank into me like a spark catching fire. My throat tightened, but I managed to whisper back, I feel the same. For a moment, we didn't move. We just stayed there, inches apart, the world holding its breath. Then, slowly, as if drawn by a force we couldn't resist, she lifted her hand and brushed her fingers lightly across the back of mine. The touch was gentle, almost hesitant, but it set my skin ablaze. In that single, fragile moment, I knew this was the beginning of something I had never dared to imagine. Her fingers lingered against mine, a feather-light touch that felt far too powerful for something so simple. I should have pulled away, I told myself that, but I didn't. Instead, I let my hand turn ever so slightly, just enough so that our skin truly touched. It wasn't bold, not yet, but it was enough to let her know I wasn't running from this. Maya's eyes softened, though there was something unreadable dancing inside them, like she was holding back a storm of feelings she couldn't quite say aloud. I could see her searching my face, as though she was asking silently if she had permission to take one step closer. My chest tightened, but instead of fear, all I felt was a wild, reckless warmth. The silence stretched, filled only by the sound of our breathing. I had never realized before how intimate breathing could feel, two rhythms finding each other, syncing without effort. Her lips parted slightly, and I felt my heartbeat stumble. I wanted her. I wanted the courage to reach across that final space and close it. Maya, I whispered her name, and it felt like a confession. My voice trembled, carrying all the feelings I had locked away. That was all it took. She leaned closer, her hand moving slowly, carefully, until it rested against my cheek. Her touch was gentle, as though she was afraid I might break. But the moment her skin pressed against mine, every wall I had built inside myself came crashing down. I closed my eyes without meaning to, savoring the warmth of her hand, the tenderness of the moment. And then, before I could think, before I could second-guess, her lips found mine. The kiss was soft at first, shy, almost cautious. But even in that hesitant touch, there was fire. It wasn't just the meeting of lips, it was the meeting of everything we had been holding back for so long. My body leaned into hers instinctively, craving more, and she answered by pressing a little closer, deepening the kiss in a way that made my heart race faster than I thought possible. Every nerve in my body lit up, every inch of me aware of her. Her hand slipped to the back of my neck, her fingers tangling gently in my hair as though she had always known how to hold me. My own hands found her waist, trembling slightly, afraid yet desperate not to let her go. When she finally pulled back, just a breath apart, her forehead rested against mine. We both stayed there, suspended in the moment, eyes closed, lips still tingling from the kiss. "I shouldn't," she whispered, though her voice betrayed her soft, longing, unconvincing. "Then don't stop," I breathed, surprising even myself with how sure I sounded. Her lips curved into the faintest smile, and before another word could be spoken, she kissed me again, this time with no hesitation, no fear. And in that kiss, I felt it. The truth I had been denying, the truth she had quietly been waiting for me to see. She touched me like no one else ever had, and I never wanted her to stop. The second kiss was different. It carried a kind of urgency, as though we both realized what had been waiting between us all along. My heart thudded wildly in my chest, but this time there was no hesitation, no question about whether this was right or wrong. It simply was. Her lips moved against mine with a tenderness that grew bolder with each passing second. The warmth of her mouth, the way her breath mingled with mine, made my whole body feel alive in a way I had never experienced before. It was as if every part of me had been waiting for this, waiting for her. I let my hands explore cautiously at first, fingers tracing the curve of her waist, the gentle rise and fall of her breathing. She leaned into my touch, encouraging me silently, and I felt a rush of confidence bloom in my chest. When her hands slipped around my shoulders and pulled me closer, the space between us dissolved completely. Our bodies pressed together, and it was like something inside me finally exhaled. The closeness, the heat, the way she fit against me, it all felt inevitable, like two pieces of a puzzle finally finding where they belonged. "Maya," I breathed against her lips, my voice barely more than a whisper. She pulled back just enough to look at me, her eyes glowing in the soft light. "I've wanted this for so long," she admitted, her thumb brushing gently across my cheek. Her voice trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of honesty. Hearing her say it made my chest ache in the most beautiful way. All the stolen glances, the subtle touches, the lingering conversations, it all suddenly made sense. She hadn't just been a friend. She had been the one my heart had been quietly falling for without permission. I leaned forward again, unable to resist her, and kissed her deeply. This time, there was no shyness left. Her lips parted slightly beneath mine, and the kiss became a language all its own, a mix of longing, tenderness, and the desperate need to close every space between us. Her hands slid down my arms, finding my fingers and intertwining them with hers. Even that simple act made the kiss feel more intimate, more grounding, as though she was telling me, "You're safe here, with me." When we finally pulled apart, breathless and flushed, we both laughed softly, the sound breaking the intensity of the moment, but only deepening the intimacy. "I didn't mean for this to happen tonight," I confessed, my voice shaking with both nerves and excitement. "Neither did I," she said, smiling in that quiet, knowing way of hers. "But maybe it was always supposed to." Her words lingered in the air between us, heavy with truth. And as she leaned in again, pressing a soft kiss to the corner of my mouth, I realized she was right. Nothing about this felt like a mistake. It felt like the start of everything. The world outside seemed to vanish. There were no cars humming in the distance, no ticking clock, no distractions, only the sound of our breathing, the quiet rhythm of two hearts beating in sync. Her hand was still in mine, her thumb brushing lazily across my knuckles, and it felt like the simplest yet most intimate thing in the world. We sat there for a long moment, close but not rushing, letting the silence speak for us. I traced her features with my eyes, the curve of her lips still slightly swollen from our kisses, the softness in her gaze, the faint flush painting her cheeks. She looked at me as though I was something precious, something worth holding carefully. No one had ever looked at me like that before. Maya, I started, but my words faltered. What could I possibly say that could capture everything I was feeling? She squeezed my hand gently, coaxing me to continue. I'm scared, I admitted softly. My voice was unsteady, raw. Not of you, never of you. But of what this means. Of what happens if I can't let go of everything I thought I was before this moment. Her expression softened even more, if that was possible. She leaned forward, her forehead brushing against mine, her closeness grounding me in the midst of my spiraling thoughts. You don't have to figure it all out tonight, she whispered. We don't have to name it, we don't have to explain it. All we have to do is feel it. The relief that washed over me was almost overwhelming. She wasn't asking for definitions or promises, she was just asking for honesty, for presence. And in that moment, I realized that was all I wanted to be here, with her, without the noise of the world pressing in. I kissed her again, slower this time, savoring the taste of her lips, the softness of her mouth against mine. It wasn't urgent like before, it was tender, reverent, a kiss that spoke of comfort and belonging. She sighed into the kiss, and I felt her relax against me, as though my lips had reassured her in ways words never could. When we pulled apart, her eyes glistened faintly, though she tried to hide it with a smile. You make me feel safe, she admitted, her voice breaking slightly. My heart clenched at her vulnerability, and I cupped her face gently, brushing my thumb along her cheekbone. You make me feel seen, I whispered back. Like I don't have to pretend anymore. Her lips trembled into a smile, and she leaned in to kiss me again, this one softer than all the rest. It wasn't about desire this time. It was about truth, about two souls quietly acknowledging they had found something rare. In her arms, with her lips against mine, I felt a kind of peace I had never known before. And though the night was far from over, I already knew my world had changed, and there was no going back. After those words, the atmosphere between us shifted not away from the intensity, but toward something gentler, easier, almost playful. It was as if we had crossed some invisible line, and now everything, every glance, every smile, every brush of skin, was wrapped in a new kind of freedom. Maya leaned back slightly, though her fingers never left mine. You know, she said, her lips curving into a mischievous smile, I didn't expect tonight to end like this. I laughed softly, though my cheeks burned. Neither did I. Honestly, I thought we'd just watch a movie and argue about which snack was better. Oh, don't worry, she teased, raising a brow. I'll still argue that popcorn is superior to anything else you could possibly offer. Her playful tone made me giggle, and I realized how natural it felt, how easy it was to fall between moments of passion and laughter with her, like both belonged to us equally. I shook my head, pretending to pout. Fine, but only because you kissed me so well. Otherwise, I'd be fighting you over this. Her eyes sparkled at my words, and she leaned closer again, her lips brushing against mine in a teasing ghost of a kiss. So you're saying my kissing skills are powerful enough to win arguments? Dangerously powerful, I whispered back, smiling against her mouth. That was all the invitation she needed. She kissed me again, slow but playful, the kind of kiss that left me smiling even as my heart raced. I found myself laughing softly against her lips, and she laughed too, the sound vibrating between us until we broke apart, both grinning like we had discovered something secret and magical. She tucked a loose strand of hair behind my ear, her eyes softening again. I like seeing you like this, she said quietly. Happy. Light. Her words touched something deep inside me. I didn't realize how much I needed this, I admitted, my voice dropping to a whisper. How much I needed you. For a moment, she just stared at me, and I wondered if I had said too much. But then she cupped my face and kissed me with such tenderness it silenced every doubt. It wasn't playful this time. It was slow, deliberate, a kiss filled with promise. When we finally pulled back, our foreheads rested together again, and I couldn't stop smiling. The air felt lighter, brighter, as though the whole world had shifted to make room for us. Stay tonight, she whispered, her voice trembling just enough to let me know how much the question meant. I didn't even hesitate. I wasn't planning on leaving. Her smile grew wide and beautiful, and she pressed another quick kiss to my lips, soft, sweet, filled with joy. And, just like that, the night felt endless, stretched out before us, full of laughter, kisses, and the promise of something neither of us had expected but both of us desperately wanted. The decision for me to stay felt like a quiet turning point. Neither of us said much after that, but the way her fingers tightened around mine told me all I needed to know. It wasn't just about the night, it was about wanting to hold on to this feeling for as long as we could. Maya stood up and tugged at my hand gently, guiding me toward the bedroom. Her movements weren't rushed or urgent, they were soft, deliberate, like she was inviting me into a space that meant more than just four walls. I followed, my heart thrumming in my chest, not out of fear but anticipation. When we stepped inside, the room was dimly lit, a soft glow spilling from a lamp in the corner. Everything about it felt warm, intimate, like a safe haven. She sat down on the edge of the bed and pulled me gently beside her. For a moment, we just sat there in the quiet, our shoulders brushing, our breaths mingling. Then she turned toward me, her hand lifting to rest against my jaw. Her thumb traced the curve of my cheek, and her eyes searched mine with a tenderness that nearly undid me. "I don't want you to feel like you owe me anything," she whispered. "Tonight is whatever you want it to be." Her words settled in my chest like a promise, steady and grounding. I reached up, covering her hand with mine, and leaned into her touch. "I don't feel like I owe you," I said softly. "I feel like I finally found what I've been searching for." Her lips curved into the gentlest smile, and then she leaned in to kiss me again. This kiss was slower than the ones before, deeper, as though she wanted to memorize every detail of how it felt. I melted into it, my hands sliding up to rest against her shoulders. Every second felt like it stretched into forever, and I didn't want it to end. When we pulled back, she pressed her forehead against mine, her fingers brushing through my hair. "You're beautiful," she murmured, her voice almost trembling. The sincerity in her tone sent a wave of emotion through me, and I swallowed hard before whispering back, "So are you. More than you know." We lay back together then, side by side on the bed, facing each other. Our hands stayed tangled, our knees touching lightly under the blanket she pulled over us. It was the simplest kind of intimacy, but it felt profound, like we were wrapped not only in fabric but in each other's presence. She kissed me again, softer this time, a kiss that felt less like fire and more like a lullaby. As our lips moved slowly, my body relaxed completely, sinking into the comfort of her warmth. And as her hand gently stroked my hair, I realized something that made my chest ache in the best way. I wasn't just falling for her, I was already there. The room was hushed, but inside me, everything was loud, my heartbeat, my thoughts, the overwhelming sense that this moment was changing me forever. Maya's face was so close to mine that I could feel her breath against my lips, warm and steady, grounding me. Her eyes, soft and searching, carried an affection I had longed for without ever realizing it. We lay there in silence for a while, trading gentle touches and small smiles. Her fingers traced patterns across the back of my hand, her touch light as a whisper. I let myself get lost in it, savoring the way something so simple could feel so intimate. "Can I tell you something?" she asked quietly, her voice barely above a murmur. "Always," I whispered back, squeezing her hand. She looked at me for a long moment, her lips curving into the faintest smile. "I was terrified of this," she admitted. "Of us. I didn't know what it would mean if I let myself feel everything I was feeling for you. But now I think I was more scared of never knowing what it could be." Her honesty unraveled something inside me. My chest ached, not from fear but from the raw truth of it. I lifted my hand to her cheek, letting my thumb brush across her skin. I was scared too, I confessed. Scared of what it would change, scared of what people would think. But lying here with you, none of that matters. Not anymore. Her eyes softened even further, and she leaned in, capturing my lips in another slow, tender kiss. It was the kind of kiss that carried no urgency, no rush. It was simply love in its purest form, quiet and steady. When she pulled back, her forehead rested against mine, and she whispered, "Then let's not think about tomorrow. Let's just stay here in this moment for as long as we can. I nodded, tears pricking at the corners of my eyes, though they weren't from sadness. As long as you'll have me, I breathed. Her smile widened, and she kissed me again, soft and lingering, sealing the promise between us. We eventually curled into each other under the blanket, her arms wrapped protectively around me, my head resting against her chest. The steady rhythm of her heartbeat lulled me into a calm I had never known before. Her fingers stroked through my hair, slow and soothing, and every now and then she pressed a gentle kiss to the top of my head. In that quiet cocoon of warmth, I realized something undeniable. She touched me in ways no one else ever had, not just with her hands or her lips, but with her heart. She saw me, held me, loved me without conditions. As sleep began to blur the edges of my awareness, I heard her whisper against my hair, so soft I almost thought I'd dreamed it. "You're mine now, and I don't ever want to let you go." And with a smile spreading across my lips, I knew I didn't want her to either.